A luxury boat at an affordable price. It sounds too good to be true, but the Queensland-based Cresta Motor Yachts is trying to do just that as it moves production offshore. It's been a tough year for the whole industry, but Cresta is confident of an uptick in demand and orders in 2010. To tell us more, we're joined by the company's Executive Chairman, Adrian Ballintine. Adrian, great to have you in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brooke.
And a great summer topic, yachts and boating, of course. We'd all love to be out there on the water rather than at work here. But Adrian, just give us a sense of a bit of the history of the company, because while we have recently talked a lot about the industries, having a tough 2009 and being hit very hard by the recession, change was in motion really before the Great Recession for Cresta, wasn't it?
That's right. Look, it's a fantastic, iconic boat brand, Brooke, founded in 1965. And so it's a really old-fashioned boat company. I owned one. I loved the boat. When people were, whether they were international or nationals, and there's 300 or 400 Crestas in the water at the moment, but from wherever they came, they loved the brand. And so for some time, the brand was not being built because it was too difficult. So
too expensive? Too expensive,
too hard. And so it went through a lull. I decided to reinvent it. And like all businesses, it really wasn't a matter of whether the economy was good or bad in terms of producing a luxury good. It was whether the business idea was sound. And so I hunted down the best naval architects, the best interior designers, the best boat builders, the best engineers, and we decided to roll up our sleeves and take this famous boat brand and make it once again famous.
So, as you said, you weren't producing, or Cresta wasn't producing for some time. What, decades worth?
Probably 10 years it didn't produce. The lost decade indeed. And so clearly experience would tell you that the world's a composite of internationals at the moment, and we decided that we'd put our factory in China, and we employ very, very highly skilled tradesmen who've had 6 and 8 generations of boat building. And we have New Zealand boys and Australian boys who are supervising that building. We have designers from Europe who are helping them produce what we think will be an outstanding product. And because we're using all of the modern techniques, and because we're drawing from all around the world to produce this great masterpiece, will provide something that's highly affordable and that's absolutely a wanted item from people all around the world.
When you were looking at trying to obviously bring down the cost to be producing the boats again, was China really the only place you looked at? Was there competition from anywhere else in the world?
I've had experience in lots of countries around the world, and it was clear to me that there's a town in China called Weihai. And Weihai is a port by the sea, and people who live there are very skilled at building boats. And so I'd had experience with an Australian company that had been building super yachts in the same part of the world. Their experience in working with the Chinese was outstanding, and the composition again of Australians, New Zealanders, Europeans, Americans and Australians building something that was for a world market. It was working for them, so I'm sure it'll work for us.
Getting the costs right and the production processes right is a huge deal for you, obviously, as you try to reinvigorate the company. But in terms of the reputation and the brand, which is so important, I guess, in the luxury market that you're in, you've obviously had that lost decade, so there would have been some reputational damage there. But also moving to China, that wouldn't have been an easy decision for what you said, as you started saying, it's an iconic Australian company.
That's right. Well, I think it's still an iconic Australian company, but, just as the world changed in the 80s when we got the internet and PCs, the world changed, and the world had to change in terms of its thinking and how it would put together luxury goods for a worldwide market. And so we're not really challenged by borders anymore. Our philosophy in building the business was, how do we provide a value for money product, but how do we also ensure that we're a very profitable company? Because at the moment I'm employing lots and lots of Australians, and we'll continue to employ lots and lots of Australians. And yes, we'll employ people from all around the world. But at the end of the day, what we want to make sure is in 50 years' time, when the young people who are running the company now so that they leave a legacy going forward as well. So this easily has the capacity to be one of those companies that's 100 years old in 50 years' time. And that's really exciting. And, Brooke, when you speak to Ron Robertson, who founded it, who's about 90 years old now, and he has a tear in his eye every time he hears and sees what we are doing with that famous brand that his brother and he started back in 1965.
What about the customers? Where's the actual demand coming? I mean, you're hopeful of that the recovery will provide new customers and orders for new vessels. Yes. Where in the world will that demand come from for you?
Thanks to the World Wide Web, the demand is everywhere. We're able to tap into the USA, into China itself, into the Middle East, into New Zealand and into Australia. So from our perspective, we don't need to sell a lot of boats to be a very profitable and ongoing company. What we'll do is produce individual and custom-made motor yachts for people who are very discerning about what they want, and for people who don't want to have another one of their boats anywhere else in the world. So the Cresta 70 that's sitting in Florida will be very different internally to the Cresta 70 that's sitting at Double Bay. It'll be different to the one that's sitting in Beijing and the one in Abu Dhabi. So people will have great choice. People want choice now. They want to have involvement in the project. They want to be part of the building project. This is a really new way of delivering yachts to people.
The customer you speak of sounds very invigorated and excited to be buying yachts again, but as we know, we've been through the global recession, and I mean, your industry was one of the hardest hit, you'd have to say, and it made easy headlines, didn't it? The rich selling their boats and the industry being hit hard. What are the signs that you are getting a recovery in your industry?
Definitely on our site is the number of hits from people around the world who are interested in what we're doing. Most people who are through the website, most people who are looking to buy luxury goods are discerning, and they do a lot of research, and they're big decisions. Cresta has a great Australian reputation. Australians have a great reputation for building boats, and the combination of that and our reach to the world, and the fact that we don't need to build too many boats, puts us, I think, a step ahead. Remember the heady days of boating 2 or 3 years ago in Australia, where at boat shows in Australia, individual manufacturers were selling 20 and 30 large yachts at a boat show. We don't have any intention of selling boats that way. They'll be very individual, and if we do a dozen, our factory can do 20 at a time. But if we're doing that, we're very happy, because we're giving people an individual experience and a great value for money experience.
And so you will hope and you'll plan for new orders to come through and expect profitability, as you've been saying. But something that is certain is that we'll exist in a carbon-constrained economy into the future. Moving production to China, what's the response there, and how you kind of engage them with that issue? Because globally, on the global stage, we've noticed that China, well, some people say that China's obviously very reticent to go along with the green theme in some ways. But what are you experiencing on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have the green disciplines in the manufacturing of the hulls and of the upper decks. But the people that we work with who are really thinking hard about that issue are the people who are the engine manufacturers. And one of the advantages of Cresta is that it's probably one of only 1 or 2 hulls in the world at the moment that takes advantage of the 3 different propulsion systems that are available in the world. There's the traditional shaft propulsion, there's IPS from Volvo, and there is what's called Zeus from Cummins, and they all provide and they all invest in the latest and greatest in greening techniques. And this new pod engine technology, which is so small on emissions and which is so quiet and which is so thoughtful about the environment, will really enthuse people about what companies like us are doing in terms of helping that perspective.
So you are changing designs and manufacturing in order to go green and to adjust for these changes that will come?
All the time we're doing that, and we're really conscious of it. And as I say, we need to work in conjunction with the other people, the other suppliers of the parts that we use in our boats to ensure that we provide the best and the latest in those materials. Our hulls, for example, Because our cost of labour is low, we're able to put more into the composites of the boat. And so the sorts of composites we use are the ones that are being used in aircraft at the moment. So we can give incredible speeds at a lightweight with very low carbons and emissions. And we're again working with the people who are using the latest in the composites and the engines to provide a great experience.
Adrian, great to chat to you on a subject which, as I said, is very summer focused with all the boats. Thank you very much, Adrian. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Brooke. And we are, in fact, raising a small amount of money under these small offerings under ASSOB, and people could go to the Cresta, www.cresta website, and they could inquire further about that. Thank you very much for having me.
Adrian Ballintine, thank you very much. Adrian, Cresta Motor Yachts Executive